flip over. I think I paused there. I'm looking for Joseph to come on. We'll be interviewing him in just a moment. Um, Joseph Bradley. So my name is Russell. I help Gen Xers and others start and scale their online affiliate marketing business. And let's see here. I've got some of my friends that are live. And hey there, Jason. How's it going, Mr. Bailey? You doing all right? It's good to see you. I hope y'all can hear me okay. Why don't you give me a shout out and let me know where you are from as you are joining? Um, Looking here for my co-host. Um, Looking for Mr. Joseph Bradley. Um, so, again, as I said, my name is Russell. I help Gen Xers start and scale their affiliate marketing businesses. Um, Jason, the Avatar ride was a bust today. When we did a lot of things in Animal Kingdom, rode the Yeti ride, and did some other. Well, my wife and daughter rode the Yeti ride. Um, when we got to the Avatar ride, it was supposed to be only a 2 hour wait after it had been shut down for most of the day. And when we had spent about 3 hours in line, and we still were only about halfway through the line. So we bailed and went and did some other things. Got a lot of pin collecting done today. Still rode some cool rides, and still had a good time. So it was just kind of a tough day in Animal Kingdom. There's a lot of folks there that were, I guess, just trying to. I got somebody doing a selfie video behind me. This is going to be the fun of doing this at Disney Live, right? Let's see here if I can find Mr. Joseph. Um, all right, I'm not seeing him yet, so we'll just keep hanging on. Hey, Autumn, if you have a second, or Jason, if you can message him, I am not. Let me just check up here as well. Oh, there he is. Online Joseph is here. Online income with Joseph. All right, see if we can co-host this. Joseph, if you will go live, I can bring you. Hey, Joseph, if you will go live, I can actually ask you to co-host then, and then we'll both have live separately, or I can invite you to join this one. You tell me which one you want, and I'll bring you on. Y'all hang on. We're just getting our star of the day lined up and on. Again, I'm at Walt Disney World in Florida today. Um, okay, you'll join live, or are you going to start your own live and co-host? Um, that's me asking Joseph Bradley how he's coming on. All right. So let's see here. All right. As y'all are coming on, if you let me know where you're at and what your top affiliate marketing question is, we want to get those answered today. But I've got some questions for Joseph that I want to talk about. Yes, we're going to talk about money, how to make it online through affiliate marketing. If that's something that interests you, money motivated times 100, be sure and stand by, because we're going to have some conversation. Affiliate marketing, for those that don't know, is a way. Here we go. Hey,
Hey,
Joseph.
we're here.
All
Woo,
right. So
did
did
it.
you join me, or are you co-hosting?
I'm hosting and I invited you to host as well, so we should be doing double hosting right now.
All right. Just making sure. That's what I was trying to do with you, but I
Yeah,
couldn't find you in the list. So,
gotcha.
uh, welcome. We're going to talk about affiliate marketing. I see Terry and Angie, and we've got Jason over here and some others. Um, so just hi to everybody. Shout out to you folks. Um, Essentially, I'm going to introduce this young man over to my left here in just a second. I guess it's my right if I'm looking at the screen. And then we're going to have some conversation. I've got some questions for him. And if y'all got some questions, y'all are welcome to ask them in the chat, and we'd be happy to get them answered towards the end of the interview. So I've got a dog. Can y'all hear the dog in the background?
No, I can't.
Okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell. I've got both AirPods in, so I'm trying to make sure that helps mute the noise a little bit. I'm in a public space, and animation the Art of Animation hotel room. I showed y'all. I'm in the animation hallway with the sketches right now.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So Joseph Bradley is someone who has been around the block for a little while. He's got some experience in affiliate marketing with not just the program that he's currently promoting, but he has had some prior experience as well. Um, I, for me, Joseph Bradley's kind of like E.F. Hutton. When he talks, everybody listens. We do these group communal chats on multiple times a week, and it's astounding the amount of knowledge that he has and just how profound he can be. So we're going to ask him to drop some of that knowledge on us as he shares his experience, strength, and hope in the affiliate marketing world with us. Um, Joseph, welcome. I'm so glad and honored that you chose to do this with me.
Bro,
Um,
I
I,
appreciate you having me, man. Just as honored to be here. So I appreciate the invite. Very cool of you to do so. And yes, I agreed with everything you just said. All of those things about
and I forgot to tell you, he's so humble. It's not even funny. All right. So, Joseph, to get us started, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your journey? Tell us kind of what was the pain point or trigger that got you looking for something, and how did you settle on affiliate marketing?
Yeah, so it's sort of it's a winding story, but I'm coming from an advertising design background, so I never really had much interest with marketing in general. I was always paired up with the marketing department, but I was on a very different spectrum of the whole advertising and marketing space. But um, I think there was two real triggers, and one of the main triggers were I've always slightly been suspicious and a little annoyed by social media. And I'm on it all, but and I designed for it as well. But there was always this slight annoyance about the way people leverage social media, and there was something a little off about it, slightly suspicious. But I would find myself being pulled into it all the time, watching people's posts, some real, very real, but these augmented realities I was always being pulled into because I think we all have to some level a social media addiction. But um, I started to see that there was a way to actually utilize social media rather than be used by social media. And I found that really, really powerful because it immediately felt like a very healthy, productive revenge on the poor use of social media. I didn't want to resent it anymore. I wanted to be able to feel empowered by it. When I started to see Eric Corner, our mentor, and different players in the affiliate game, I started to say, "Whoa, there's a whole other dimension of using social media that could be to one's advantage rather than playing this sort of superficial game of pretend." So that was one trigger. Just that, the fact that I saw a whole other dimension of social media. And the other was just that I was seeing people earn a lot of money in real time in front of me. And it wasn't what they were selling that intrigued me. It was the fact that they could prove what they were doing that intrigued me. I was seeing it happen in real time, this astronomic success for people overnight. And I thought, well, I'm already stretched very low on bandwidth, but why can't I try? So that brought
Right.
me in. That's what brought me in. Those two,
Can you
those doors.
So can you say, I think there's something profound or something that will resonate with some of the folks that are watching on one side or the other. Can you say a little more about the light side and dark side of social media, as you put it, just kind of what you were feeling or experiencing that was causing the angst?
Yeah. So I mean, I've always so I come again from a graphic design, advertising, graphic world, and so there was a general appeal to the aesthetics of like Instagram and documenting one's life. But then I started to see a real disingenuous use of it. I found people were constantly and it's for all the reasons that a lot of people get depressed because of social media. I think it brings them down. There's this augmented reality, there's this curated, false projection of people's lives that people are driven to constantly try and convince other people that they're living. And they're not really. They're not really. And their stats are through the roof that the people that tend to post the most for just sort of personal use tend to be the ones that have a very high susceptibility to depression. It's like this, they're constantly trying to combat their current reality and curate one that makes them feel better about themselves. And so, even though I have a certain sympathy for it, I didn't really like the way it made me or lots of people feel that they were constantly trying to promote a life that was really fictitious. Um, so once I started to see something that was very actionable, very concrete, and lucrative in its use of social media, I thought, wait a minute, this is the healthy way to utilize it. This is productive, this is actionable, and this is real. And it certainly, on my very first commission, I immediately felt vindicated. The resent of social media went away because I thought, this is this is um, this is how it's supposed to work, and this is a legitimate use of it, where you can create a life that you want and build one and afford one through the use of social media rather than pretending the one that you're trying to promote through. So yeah, and I designed for social media. I designed apps for social media. I'm around marketing people. I get that there is a motivation to make life aspirational and interesting, but it's also profoundly insincere. And I think that's
Yeah.
why TikTok is taken off, because there's something very raw about it, and you can't really fake it, you know. Um, and so, yeah, I think being able to utilize it as a superpower to generate an income stream is very satisfying.
Yeah, it is. Well, and I think, so the reason why I push the issue there is because that resonated with me. When I started finding out that half the crap that I was seeing online, especially in social media spaces, these guys were renting their Lambos, they were renting the mansions that they were doing their shoots in. And it was just all a bunch of hot air. And then all of a sudden, the skepticism just goes through the roof. It starts off, I felt inadequate. And then it starts moving towards from inadequacy to just being fumed about the fact that it was just a big lie. And then the skepticism starts in. So I appreciate the experience with the dark side of social media. You talked about your very first commission, or you mentioned it just a second ago. So tell us about that first commission. Tell us when it happened, how it happened. Tell us some more about that and that vindication.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even a very high ticket sale. It was just the fact that I saw that it worked. And, I in our group and in with the people that are in passive income blueprint, I'm very transparent. There are people that, across the spectrum of commitment, and people like you and some of our close friends, NPIB, they're hell bent about this. They do all the things you're supposed to do. They post several times a day. They batch. They've got their funnel up. They're omnipresent. All of those things, which are always a commendable. And you're, Russell, just to say, you are a great example of that, of really grinding it out and making it happen day to day to day, nonstop, relentlessly. And I'm on the opposite side of that spectrum. So, to be told, I don't even have I don't have my most current fully built passive income blueprint funnel up. Autoresponder isn't in place, and I still saw it work. So if you can be at that point where, throw in the word lazy, inept, clumsy, whatever you want to call it, um, overstretched. Um, I haven't been able to get to the point in which I think success really starts to come to people that do this. But yet I still made commissions, and that was bizarre to me. So I thought, whoa, if I'm if I'm just on, if I'm not even full throttle here, if I'm just in first gear, just imagine what it could be. And at the very least, it dispelled any cynicism I have about it. I simply followed some very basic steps, and it still worked, even without doing all the correct and proper proven methods. Um, so that's always encouraging.
It's very encouraging. And y'all, I need you to know before we go much further that Joseph is going to be so hard on himself, that the stuff that relates to him, some of it you've got to, I want to say you got to take it with a grain of salt, but then I don't want to leave you to miss the wisdom. Joseph's got a workload that is, extensive, and not to make excuses, but I want you to know that the effort that he is putting out is in the midst of a very full plate, and if he can do it, anybody can do it. Just no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and that's very forgiving of you too, Russell. But but I would say that it's also a great testament that I have, a full time job with clients that would equal another full time job, and plus even more freelance clients beyond that. So essentially, what I'm doing, verge on the could teeter unhealthy as far as expending oneself. But I have found that if you really want these things to happen, just like anything else in life, you will find the time. So in the pockets of time that I have, I've still been able to at least attempt this and then start to see even, results, which is again just kind of rattling when you see it happen. But yeah, maybe I'm being slightly hard on myself.
Just a little bit. I mean, you do get what you put into it, I think. But I also want people to hear that, one of the biggest excuses we hear all the time is I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
I don't have the independent clients that you do, but I have a full time job and I have two businesses that I run outside of affiliate marketing. And I'm here on vacation, taking an hour that my wife and daughter are taking a break to have a conversation with somebody that I think has wisdom to share with us about the affiliate marketing space. So, I mean, you find the way to do it. So,
Agreed.
jo- Joseph, um, what is the thing that you wish you would have known? Well, okay, let me go back and try to get the rest of the answer to the question I asked a minute ago. How long ago did you get your first commission?
About a just a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And so, what do you know now that you wish you would have known then? Like you're talking to a brand new affiliate marketer or wannabe affiliate marketer on one of these two lives, right? Yours or mine.
yeah.
And you've got this wisdom. What is that one piece of wisdom you would impart or you would tell your old self a few months ago?
Mhm. I think for the most part that commitment, you cannot take commitment lightly to this. If you're in on it, I would say this actually. There are people that think they want it, and then people that actually want it to work. And to you those people start to get weeded out. You think you want it, you think you can do this, you think you can sign up for it, but you should be very measured and prepared that when you do commit to this, if you want to see results, you really have to you really have to roll up all sleeves, and you really have to jump and be all in. Or you're going to stammer and it's going to stall a lot of the incremental process you're going to see. So I think in our group, because we have those accountability groups, I noticed that there were people that were putting in a ton of investment, and those people were rising to the top, and also our coaches were giving them more time, and more attention because there was more to work off. And that really resonated with me, because I wouldn't say that I was being necessarily um, a troubled student, but I would say that that is where I recognize, do you think you want this, or do you actually want this? Because there's
Okay.
people who say, I really want this to work, but are you doing everything you need to do to make it work? So I think that's really something that I would have liked to go back into a time machine and whisper in my ear, that I think you want this, but wait till you see what it requires, and then you'll be able to decide. Maybe you should be able to make that decision now. But when you invest money, and if you're competitive, and if you're enjoying it, um, I think you're not going to so quickly back out like some people do when they start to see what it requires.
Right.
Was that
Okay.
rambling?
No, not at all. You're doing great. You're doing great. Um, so I know that you and I have, and I love this about us because we're close, we're connected. I feel like if I've met you, um, oh, I don't know, we met up someplace like Itasca. We'd go grab a bite, have a drink, and everything would be fine, right? It would be
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
cool. But we differ in our approach to content, and I suffer from a character flaw called envy. I have content envy when I look at your content. And so would you mind, because we all have different strategies how we go about it, would you mind just talking about your approach to content creation for affiliate marketing?
Yeah, I totally will. And I would preface it that I'm not above or immune from that either, Russell. I think I see people excel at certain things within the way that they express and the way that they can distill very basic but alluring talking points about affiliate marketing. That sometimes I wish I could have just said it like that. Just picked up the phone and just said it. Um, so yeah, so trust me, I'm a fan of I'm a fan on the sidelines as well to people who create. But hey, Mama Jenkins. But my approach is generally I have the talking points that I think that I can more or less I feel comfortable with expressing, and that I found tend to resonate with people. Call it branding, brand messaging, but I think that at least within our niche, there's a segment. If you drill down from our niche to our niche, that some people like the way certain words are used, and so um, I've been cognizant of using those talking points and those topics, but just kind of rephrasing them and finding, creative ways to rephrase, which is exhausting. Um, but essentially, what I do is I know what my talking points are, and my approach would essentially be, and this is funny because it's slightly unconventional. I am still a bit stumbly when it comes to just riffing and talking. I just can't do it in ways that I'm comfortable with. And I'm sure, again, it's that self critic within, but I always default to my strengths, which is words um, paired with brief commentary and maybe appropriate music, which I know some people say, well, you can't really, that's a crutch. And I agree that that's just, even though people will compliment me about my content all the time, the parts that they're complimenting me about, the truth is it's a creative crutch for what I'm not doing. And that is what everybody else in our group tends to do and like yourself, and excel at that, which is just speak freely about it and knowledgeably without being careful. So my Achilles heel is being just freestyle speaking about it. Um, where I tend to feel comfortable with is batching talking points that I've already got written out, that I've got batch videos out. I just pair the two together and then find appropriate music for it. So it's a very kind of art director's way to go about it, rather than maybe a sales approach.
Okay. Yeah, I've got to watch that other end. I can get too salesy, but I tend to script less and be less careful. So that's interesting. But I love that about us because there's space for both of us in the affiliate marketing arena, and there's going to resonate with two different groups of people. And so that's why I bring it up. Anything I say, I'm not trying to create conflict. Oh, you were promised ears. That's right. Okay. You're going to see the ceiling for just a second because I'll put on ears while I'm talking. Um, I
Somebody,
forgot about the ears. So, Joseph, I have to know before I do this. You are very pronounced in your emotiveness through facial expression and body language. Is that something that comes from an art director or a designer's perspective, or did you have a lot of? We want to know. Were you in drama? I mean, where does that come from? Are you just naturally gifted that way?
well, I mean, I think that's I appreciate the
There
compliment.
you go.
There we
There's
go.
my blingy ears.
Oh, I love it, and wow, it really is sequence ears. I was like, there's no way
It
he
is.
that way.
Uh,
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would wear sequin ears just for you, Joseph, just
Well,
for this interview.
I've got match that, so I could have just worn them. No, I don't. I don't. No. Well, to your question, I mean, I hear that a lot, and that's been somewhat fun and a little concerning because people tend to call things out that I wasn't really aware of. So no, I didn't have any drama, and I didn't do anything. It's really not as coordinated as people think. I think again, it's just I think what people are seeing is just really, I can't even explain it that well. I think it's just my natural movements and mannerisms, and there's really not a lot of plotting to it. But I do think that all of it, if it's happening consciously or unconsciously, really is a compensation for this freely speaking. So there's all sorts of other things that people are noticing um, that I didn't even know myself, to be honest. But thank you for those
Well,
nice. Yeah,
and I'm going to put a twist on that. I mean, I think if you're getting started out, here's me. You got to do you.
yeah,
And if you have that gift, while you may recognize it at some point in your journey that it's a crutch preventing you from growing another area, um, I would say don't be afraid to lean into your gifts, right? I talked about this. I had a tip that, people sometimes just get on screen and they get so monotone and serious and they don't.
yeah.
And I said, raise an eyebrow, try smiling. I mean, these are
Right, right.
simple daily tips that, do it in your way. Don't fake it, but, be present in all the ways that you can embody that. So I'm just grateful. I always wanted to know. I've actually had others ask. So thank you for
So
entertaining that.
so funny.
Um, so, what is what do you think is the biggest struggle with scaling in affiliate marketing for you?
Well, I think I mean that one is almost easy. I think that just getting the mechanics down, where I actually, um, in a way, I've found that it's almost obvious. It's almost like I'm. It's almost criminally obvious what I know I need to do to scale, which is really get the mechanics in place to really start to build that Facebook group community out. Right, all the things, the basics and the fundamentals that we're all taught to do. I think if those things came into play for me, I think that would start to immediately move the needle. So there would be scaling there. Um, so I think that's what it comes down to is really kind of still getting the technical fundamentals down to be able to entertain scaling. But right
Okay.
now, really just it's constantly throwing lines out through posts and seeing what sticks, rather than really, really procuring a community and a strategy.
Okay. You spoke of personal brand and branding. Um, I think you come and hang out with us on the regular after the masterminds. And for those that may be joining us, we go on live individually to usually educate or inform. We go live in pairs to do the same thing or to do interviews. But we have this thing that we do. There's just a whole little running group of hoodlums, affiliate marketing hoodlums that Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and sometimes other nights of the week, we get together and it's more of a community thing. You might hear us talk about some other stuff, but we also try to answer the affiliate marketing questions. Um, but Joseph, we're all branded individually, like you, me, Terry, Robert, all of us that kind of hang together. Ed, I'm looking at other people in the chat. Ed, Autumn, all of y'all, we're all wired differently, and we've already, whether it's been a short time or a long time that we've been in the space, we've kind of developed our own personal brands. What do you do to enhance or nurture your brand, like who you are or who you see yourself or hear yourself to be?
Yeah, so I think that there's something very interesting in how a branding sometimes isn't even by choice. It just starts to emerge, and the more you put yourself out there, your brand your brand tells you who you are rather than you are able to fashion what your brand is. And that's always been something I've seen in advertising, but even in this world on TikTok and in affiliate marketing, just by speaking and appearing, that projects and that kind of fashions you as a brand, even if you didn't intend it. Um, so what I've really started to do is take the feedback that you guys give me, my group, and just be aware that it's still present. So I'm not necessarily creating facial expressions, but I'm trying to not hinder myself to be like other affiliate marketers I'm seeing. So even though I'm not trying to be me, at least I know I'm careful to not be somebody else. And I think that distinction helps as far as brand building.
All right. So careful not to be somebody else. Say more about that because I think that probably applies to more than just a personal brand. So I'm going to just see what you'll spill, what kind of truth you'll
Yeah,
tell us.
yeah, and I think you can predict where I'm going. I mean, the whole concept of cutting and pasting content, mimicking content, mirroring it, using the same template over and over. I mean, I really think it gives affiliate marketing a bad name. I see that it's a strategy that's worked for people, so I see why people leverage it. But I mean, it's one very boring, right? But and it's not very original. But I do think
Yeah.
I think it stagnates the space. If people are worried about oversaturation, I think that's mostly because they're seeing the same redundant messaging over and over and over. And so I don't think saturation is occurring, but I do think there's an oversaturation of duplication and copycat. And that's what gives the impression. Too much of that. But it's only because they're passing around the same quote, the same blurb over and over, the same shtick of 2 hours a day, $7 class, 10K in 2 months, for little no uh, time investment. We all know, anyone that's done this is extremely exhausting to see over and over because when you peek behind the curtain, you know none of it's true. And I know lots of people in our group
Right.
really have made a concerted effort to be transparent, not to scare people
Right.
away, give them a real sense of what they're walking into when they want to invest in this. Um, and that level of copycatting or whatever you want to use it of mimicking and copy pasting, it's really tired. It's really tired to see. I mean, that's certainly what pushes me to want to craft my own phrasing, because I know we're all trying to touch on the same things. You don't like your 9 to 5, you don't have to be trapped by an income bracket, but what are ways in which you can push that and say that 40 other people and someone else's feed didn't already say before they got to you, before their thumb got to you. Um, and
Right.
that, I can't tell you how exhausted I am by that. And it's that's what I'm careful to not be. And should a brand emerge from that, then I think maybe that's what's happening. Rather than a coordinated effort to be a brand, it's a coordinated effort to not be that. And then I think naturally a brand starts to appear.
Okay. So you're a professional. You're a relatively young guy. I think I've got a decade or more on you, probably closer to two, but we won't go there. um,
Counting, yeah.
what's that?
I'm not counting. I'm not counting
You're
years.
not counting? Okay, good. But when you are in this scripting process or getting ready to create content, we're always talking about avatars.
Yeah.
So again, this is to help folks that may be newer and may be struggling with actually honing in their avatar. Um, uh, tell us what an avatar is. Tell
Yeah.
us kind of who you direct yourself at, and tell us how you got to that place, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, but that's a great question, because that's a reoccurring theme in my head every time I'm posting. You're trying to be aware of who you're speaking to, right? If you're creating, we all know the cliche of if you're creating for everyone, you're creating for no one. But I mean, the avatar is the select group in which you're targeting and which you're trying to help, and who you think you can relate to best and whose problem you can solve. So as far as my avatar, and this is something I wouldn't say struggle with, but is something I'm always having to decide on a daily basis with every post, and that is, who am I trying to help? Because I don't want to just selectively be helping one small, micro niche of people. It's not just professionals that like me, that already have maybe a you know a, a six-figure income. I don't want to just lean into that, because I know that there's people who are making that and still have the time to do this. But I don't want to be so arrogant or so narrow that that's who the only people I would speak to, because there's plenty of people that aren't making that six-figure income that could benefit from this as well. And so, as far as like who I'm speaking to, I tend to waffle, and I try to keep it flexible, because I don't want it to just be one particular, like, just struggling affiliates. There's lots more. If you're only helping struggling affiliates, then you're not helping people who are affiliate curious, and that's very limiting. So, yeah, as far as an avatar, I try to keep it flexible but focused.
Okay. Um, so we've been at this for a number of months. Is it safe to say that you've at some point experienced some kind of hiccup or bump?
Yes, I mean, yeah, that would be yeah. I'd be underselling it if I said there was just one or two hiccups. There's been massive hiccups, gigantic burps, and lots of bleeding. Yeah, I find it's funny how we talk about that valley of despair, and I have actually seen everybody go through it. I see that,
Hmm.
and it's funny because you see them and then they'll kind of go away for a day. You don't see them. And I know it's because they're battling because they probably just got inundated by a bunch of awesome content from everybody else. And now they've got a mental block. They don't know what to do. They start to scramble. They start to self doubt everything just because they're having a bad moment. And that is nothing that I'm immune from either. I'll start to see everybody just pumping out some very simple content, but doing it in mass. And then I start to get scrambled. Like, okay, now they're in my head, and their messaging is in my head, and I don't want to repeat their messaging, but I also don't want to overthink it. So those multiple valleys um, happens, I think, to all of us, and I think often. I don't think we often want to like talk about it because we don't want to constantly be crying about it. That I'm struggling again today. I'm struggling again today. But I think it's just an honest, human representation that we can't be on all cylinders creatively every day, pumping out, stellar content in bulk. We're not even designed to do that, particularly if you've got other things going on, like a family and a job, or stay-at-home mom. I mean, how can you? No one has the amount of cells in their body to produce and to be able to channel themselves that extensively. So every time that happens, I just say if today's a stagnant day, then it's a stagnant day. Because if I was in the right zone, I'd be producing and cranking it. So instead of forcing myself, I'm letting my brain kind of recharge. Which then the anxiety starts to creep in. Oh, now I'm missing opportunities for visibility, and the algorithm. I'm not posting now. Now I'm going to start to fade away. So there's that anxiety too. That maybe you should just post just to post. Um, I'm starting to believe more in that because I'm starting to see it as a numbers game. But man, is it tough to just crank and post and let it go. Especially if you're not comfortable with it or if you think your message is sloppy. I get that you don't have to be a perfectionist, but sometimes coming, nothing that's worth posting. You don't want to hurt yourself by posting garbage either.
Right. So, um, what do you think about the vanity metrics that we all get caught up in?
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't mind them because I think I have a forte in vanity. No, I think no, no. Those are the things that actually keep me going. I really mean that. Like those little dopamine hits. If I see that there was a post that I was so comfortable about, but I all of a sudden I got an absurd amount of likes or views that I didn't expect, that keeps me going. I said, well, at least now I be such a harsh critic because what I thought was bad actually went over really well. So those vanity metrics to me, sort of a psychological way help. But I also see how if you damage caught up.
Yeah, no doubt. Don't look at my don't look at my vanity metrics for about a day and a half ago. I had three of my four pieces of content get 20 views, and I'm going,
Yeah,
these were fantastic
right.
tips. I mean, we're talking about daily routine. I'm giving you the gravy here. This is, this is part of the meal. This is how it's going to all, come together. And, it's just the struggle is real.
It is, and it's really hard to live by those metrics because we do to some degree, whether you're better at it than others, of not letting it get in your head. But they're going to have some effect on you. And to live your life being dictated by the algorithm of an app is exhausting because we're all susceptible.
Yeah. So we've beat around the bush with mindset. I think that we can often appear online to everybody else like we have it all together.
Yeah.
You know, we scripted the content right, we got the lighting right, we came off the way we wanted to come off, or we riffed and we got the content out there. But the truth of the matter is that there's always internal dialogue going on. Outside of kind of resetting your day and just allowing a stagnant day to be a stagnant day and then getting over it or moving through it, is there anything else you do in particular that helps you with mindset? I mean, is it a morning routine, an evening routine, a book you read? Is there anything that helps with your mindset in the biz?
Not in that way. Not that got some sort of general practice where it preps my brain. I think I'm just always trying to be vigilant and scribbling down ideas. So I've always got talking points that even if I haven't hashed them out, they're there to be chronicled and to maybe return to, so that I don't feel like I'm doing nothing. So that routine of just making sure I've always got a certain perspective of message that either I'm working on or I want to start working on. Um, Always making sure that that's documented and chronicled in some way. They can always go back to general topic. Like, there's one particular topic that really got me. I'm obsessed about it and trying to find better and better ways um, to really speak to people with it, because I know if I would get it right, so I think anyway, it would really, 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 you know, um, tweak a lot of nerves in a good way. And I just find that there are so many people going in debt for college to go into a corporate world and devote their energies, their creativities, their family time, and their life for decades to maybe find themselves in a comfortable spot. And yet you juxtapose that with people invest in just a single course that is less than a single semester in college, and they're making five, 4 or 5 figures repeatedly by investing in something like affiliate marketing. And that juxtaposition blows my mind. There are people, we've all been conditioned to make sure your manager likes you, please the client, climb that ladder, play that game. And then you see somebody come in, maybe a person who is just totally, totally, totally in a refusal to play that game and put a website together and do what they need to do on social, and they explode and they just destroy the whole obsolete model of college debt, corporate games, corporate politics, lifelong devotion to companies and corporations. And when I see that field has been the playing field's been leveled, I'm constantly wanting to try to push that message, because I know that there are very few people that wouldn't inspire. And so
Yeah.
that I'm constantly going back to. I didn't mean to really get so tangential on that one particular topic, but to answer your question in a really short way, yes, that's something that I'm always doing. Needle moving as far as a routine is constantly try and push topics I think are going to resonate with people. How I can um, creatively put that messaging out there.
What do you do with the critics? I've got a friend that's in the chat over here. I'll do a shout out to Isaac. Um, what do you do when you're being bullied in the comment section or you're just getting negative engagement? How do you handle that?
I see it happen a lot, and I'm not sure why it hasn't happened to me a lot. I don't know why people haven't jumped in and started, going down the litany of trolling, trolling bulleted points like, "Hey, it's a scam," blah blah blah. You're just selling the course you learned. All the stuff I see in other people's comments, I'm always surprised I don't get it. Um, but the few times I have had pushback, and I think we've all learned this. The most beneficial way to juggle that is to actually invite it to a way in which you can work off it. So all of a sudden, that becomes a post for you, a response post. Um, and I really like that. I think it's fun. I think it feels, there's a little bit of vindication there and being able to get your words in a way that isn't so typically reactionary. but kind of does kind of rise above the fray and take the high road. So that's the times I've had some pushback and some snottiness in the comments. That's how I've handled it. But yeah, I'm actually a little jealous when people get the bullying, because I'd like to jump. I just never. I don't get it. I don't get um, why people are so attacked by it. But the times I've seen it, it's either by people who have tried and didn't put enough in and failed, and now they're just, that cognitive dissonance is there. They refuse to believe that they did anything wrong. They don't want to be accountable, or they don't want to believe they fell short. It's got to be some super scam that they fell into. And I noticed that pattern of behavior. Or there's just people that I think they're just generally cynical, and so they dismiss it right off the bat, which is not terrible. I push cynicism. I watched Eric and our mentor other programs for a long time before I decided I wanted to make a move. But once you make that move, that's then it's on you.
Right. Well, and the one thing to add to that, asking myself the same question, excuse me, I would just say that I've run in sociologically and psychologically speaking, there are people in the world that don't feel like they can do anything to better themselves unless they put someone else down.
Yeah.
And and unfortunately, those people still exist. And in the cancel culture that we live in, sometimes you just got to let those people go. Um, yes, there is a healthy side to this where some conflict or some negative dissidence or something like that can be addressed and interacted with and replied to. But um, I also understand, I think, where Isaac was coming from. And there's some other context there I won't share, but just know that some people are just mean and they just feel like the only way they can get up is to put somebody else down.
Hmm.
Those are the people that, whether it's affiliate marketing or anything else, just don't invest the energy into. It's not a winning battle.
Yeah.
Um, so um, we talked about your first commission, and we talked about some other things. I'm really curious, because especially in our group, we talk a lot about our successes, um, and not the monetary ones. So, um, how would you, or what would you say are some of your successes to this point, Joseph? I want you to put on the positive hat for a moment and say, hey, here's where I won. Give me some wins. What can somebody expect to have gained um, in starting the process?
Yeah. So, when we were talking about social media and how there's that, there's that really ugly side of it. Have you ever noticed that a lot of your friends, when you post, or people that for some reason, they'll watch everything you do, but they might not necessarily be a of a presence, a visible support to you. They're watching and monitoring everything you do, but you wonder, well, why do you watch everything I post, but you never like it, comment on it, things like that? That really bothered me for a very long time, because it felt like, am I being conspiratorial, or are people just hesitant to want to give people credit because they're scared they're going to go somewhere else that's better, that they're going to find a higher echelon of life to live. People don't really like to see, people will congratulate you about success, but I've noticed people don't necessarily love to see success for other people, as long as um, as long as they're still in the same spot. So if you're stuck in a spot and you see such as somebody rise, you're not going to be quick to support them, because now you're nervous that you're stuck in the same spot. And so the 1% of um, success that I've found is that I get a certain amount of compliments and validation that strangers are very willing to give me, that family and friends wouldn't. And they've been very honest to give me critiques that are positive, that I never would have thought about myself or seen as myself. Um, so I found that there's been success in that. All that negative self talk didn't be there, because
Okay.
other strangers and other people were just being supportive because they had nothing to lose by simply being kind. And sometimes friends and family will hold back on doing that for fear of seeing you go somewhere better than they're at. And I know that's negative, and it sounds a little bit conspiratorial about friends and family, but I think we all have felt that at some point. Why are the people that are around me less support, and all of these strangers seem to like me better? Like, what is that about?
Yeah.
So being able to push out stuff, push out content, see it resonate with people, get that sort of external validation. That's all been really, really helpful, to keep pushing forward and stuff like this. Because if I were to rely on friends and family, even though most people don't know I'm doing this, I don't think it would be as gushing and as supportive and as genuinely sincere as a bunch of strangers that are simply rallying around people that they want to see do well, which is what our group does.
Yeah. So say more about that, or maybe in this context, um, if I have my story straight, and you have to understand, there's a lot of y'all, so sometimes I get it wrong. Feel free to correct me. But if I have my story straight, you came to Passive Income Blueprints through another program or after another program,
Yeah,
and you've actually said a minute ago that you've known Eric for a long time.
yeah.
Do you want to say something about your journey into where you're at now
Sure.
and tie that back to the communal component you were just talking about, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really my favorite story about my entire journey. It's because I still have not forgiven our mentor for selling me the blueprints of a program that I want nothing to do with, and that most people have kind of had to pick up the pieces from. And I think my experience with our mentor from that other program was the template of why PIB is so successful. He had he I followed Eric for a very long time, and and built, and he certainly was good at building knowability and like and trust. He covered all of that. And then when he sold me the blueprints and I realized, okay, now what do you do with this? Eric was kind enough, because Eric is Eric, and he said, you know what, book as many calls with me on the side and I'll help you get through this, which is zero obligation from that group, right?
Right.
And I really don't mind saying it, but like, my experience at Legendary Marketing was really, it was hard to, if not for Eric, I would have felt like lost, confused, and ripped off. And that's as concise as I can say it, but that's exactly what it would have felt like if Eric hadn't gone the extra distance to make sure that the help you need is going to be there, so that I'm just not left hanging. So watching Eric take me go from that, knowing Eric from that point, and seeing Eric start his own program from Legendary to this in real time, seeing like, okay, I'm going to buy an office, and I just bought this little, like, this little hut home from Home Depot. I'm going to put it back behind my trailer, and I'm going to operate from behind it. That was the proof I needed to see. It wasn't what he was selling, it was what he was showing me, that where his life was progressing. Clearly he was making moves and moving that needle. And I was like, okay, I'm actually more interested in seeing how he's maneuvering than I am in trying to sift through this info dump of blueprints from Legendary Marketing. I was more interested in seeing how he was progressing, and that was where the trust came in. And so
Mm-hmm.
then migrating to PIB, I started to see, like, this is exactly what he was doing for me, but at a grander scale for all the other people and all the other poor souls that got suckered and were suffering. And so as a business model, I'm always like, I always want to ask Eric, like, where's my kickback? I mean, clearly, I template to say, if this guy is struggling and I see that there's all these other people, why don't I just do this at a grander scale and come up with my own program? And that's exactly what he did. And in that program, there's a foundation of leaving no one behind, leaving anybody behind, and having step by step for every possible incremental process in building out a business. And that's what he was doing with me on the side. He decided to create a program And that's exactly where the sense of community comes in our program. That now everybody's rallying around each other because he's curated, he's procured that kind of environment and that kind of group.
Yeah, it's amazing. Um, all right, so I know we're getting kind of close to our time that we originally slated. Do you have a few more minutes, Joseph? Are you doing pretty good?
We're good. We're good.
Okay. I have to tell you, even though I'm in Disney, there's something about wearing sequined ears with a bow on top of your Texas Gun Club hat that's got people looking at me a little funny.
that,
I'm an oxymoron across the board, so I'm enjoying the sociological experiment as I'm enjoying the conversation.
that's
Um, you can even wreck people at Disney. It's just awful. Uh, I guess it's more awesome than awful, but it's a little bit of both.
yeah.
Um, so, if you have questions that we've not gotten to, please drop them in one of the two chats, either mine or Joseph's, because we want to try to get to those in the next few minutes. Um, Joseph, I'll ask you the question that I try to ask everybody. What is the one thing that you want to talk about, get off your chest, say, or answer that I didn't ask?
Well, to your credit, you've pretty much checked every box. I don't feel like there's anything tickling me that I wish you would have asked. In fact, I didn't know you were going to be so selective about your interviewee and even talk about like my mannerisms and things like that. So you really did your homework about the individual that's in front of you. Um, so no, there's really nothing except that I'm always transparent about my general struggle, which is that I have to take into consideration that I'm going at my own pace, and I see that there is constantly homework that is just not going to get done by me, and I have to not let that feed into my brain and say, oh, see, you're just not up to snuff, you're just not keeping up with the group, and let that start to chip away at me to the point where all of a sudden, throwing in the towel seems like a viable idea. I'm not going to let that happen, but I'm constantly having to remind myself people are going to put out 8 pieces of content course that I have to remind myself that putting out two still has to be seen as a level of success. Um, based on the pace I'm going to be able to be able to do this.
Right. And everybody's situation is different. I mean, I've been in a place the last few months where I've had some additional time and I've been able to invest some, and that schedule is going to be shifting in January, and so that's going to be interesting to watch. So I mean, we get it, and this is the point, I guess, for those of you that are watching. Why do I keep doing interviews, and why do I interview different people? I interview different people because we're all at different places on the journey. We all come from different backgrounds, and we all have different experiences, and we all have something valuable to bring to the space. And if this conversation that I've had this evening with Joseph helps just one person, either now or later, um, then it was a conversation that was worthwhile. I mean, A, I enjoy spending time with you, Joseph. But B, this is to hopefully help somebody out there that's maybe wrestling with a similar context of, I need to go at my own pace for a while. And Joseph is not terminally unique in this situation. There's a story uh, of an individual in our community because of the department of the government that they work for. They weren't allowed to show their face for the longest time, and so there's all kinds of circumstances and extenuating things going on. We do have single moms, and we do have nurses and frontline healthcare workers that are working 4 12s a week or 5 12s a week, depending on what they're doing. We've got all kinds of folks. We've got construction workers and auto mechanics and all kinds of walks of life. So part of this sharing and introducing you to Joseph is really just to add to that tapestry of anybody can do it. It may not be for everybody, but anybody can do it. Um, I am not seeing any more questions over here, Joseph. Do you have any on your side?
No, just a lot of very supportive friends.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you all for the roses and the likes. And I know a couple of y'all have been bouncing back and forth trying to support both of us as we co-host. I'm very appreciative of that. Here's one I'll do for you since I'm still waiting on my folks to arrive. Joseph, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I do. I do. I
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I do because it always creeps up every time you appear in my on my screen on several times on a daily basis. Um, the question always comes up. Where do you and how do you um, make sure that you can create the bulk content that you do with a level of um, let's say success rate, because even if you have some downtime, I've noticed that sometimes when I've got like a spare hour I didn't think I was going to have, it doesn't necessarily mean that I was able to create anything within that hour that was a good use of the time. But you, for whatever reason, it seems like you can schedule yourself and then produce when you need to produce, whereas I don't think that I can necessarily produce at any given moment just because I have an extra 10 minutes. So, Russell, where do you, what, what are some of your techniques to make sure that you utilize your time best and that you can still produce something that you're going to pump out and utilize?
So the shortest, simplest answer is every day I spend no less than 15 minutes doing market research, and I'll do a variety of things. And most of the things are known in the community. I will go to ask the public. I will go and I'll look at other people's content to be inspired. I will look back through my comments to see what questions were asked of me directly. And I have flip notebooks, tablets, and journal style books that are chock full of things that I've written out. And so when I get a free block of time, or I've scheduled a block of time like I frequently do on Sundays for a couple of hours, um, I will spend 15, 20 minutes going through those and picking the ones that I am ready to speak on. And I'll just go after them in full attack mode and get them done. Now they get done at varying levels. The last time the, uh, I recently batched something like 94 pieces of content.
Right.
70 of them were tips of the day. And so they're 60-second clips that just have a single tip. It seems to be something that is, I didn't think I was going to be known for, but it's become a huge part of my brand.
Uh-huh.
And it happens to be the posts that typically do the best on any given day, if you're looking at vanity metrics. People get up, they expect to see them, and it's fascinating. I'm appreciative. But those I'll crank out. So Sunday before we left, or 2 Sundays ago, wasn't this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, knowing that the trip was coming up, knowing that we had this contest going on, um, challenge for our inside group. I just sat there in front of the camera and took them one at a time, and recorded for 60 seconds, saved it to draft. Recorded for 60 seconds, saved it for draft. I did not go and do all the editing on those, which is putting on the captions and getting out the dead space. I'll do that as I go, um, and that was just that. This past weekend, right before the trip, I produced 8 or 10 pieces of content around my daily schedule. I did one long form piece. It was 3 minutes that told all 8 steps, and then I did 8 more pieces that were each of the 8 steps on their own in a shorter version. That way, they would get pushed out to other places. And then I did a what did I call it? Horse hooey. I love using the word horse hooey. About it only takes 1 to 2 hours. I put in no less than 3.5, 4 hours in my business every single day, and there are many days I put in 8 to 10 hours. That's me. That's what it's taking me to get traction. Everybody's journey is different, but that's kind of what I do, Joseph. I have copious notes, kind of written in block style that I return to on a regular basis, and push out the things that are resonating with me that I have ease to be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just say your level of output is pretty relentless. I mean, I've been really impressed by you and other people in our group to just be so committedly um, productive in such at such a mass level. Um, it definitely
Well,
keep people like me on my toes. I can go over one or two posts and feel good about it, and then see somebody else just posted seven, and I think, huh, maybe I overthought
yeah.
those. I could have just yeah. So yeah,
Well, I still have a burr up my butt because I ask y'all all the time. I ask my colleagues all the time, what can I do to improve? I'm struggling with X, and here's what how do I get through X and get to Y? And so I had this conversation via messaging with Ryder. I love Ryder to death. She's a Texas gal. She's a rock star in our community. And I just asked her, how did she get through that? And she simply told me to I don't remember her exact words, but essentially it was to work harder when she was really not having the traction and engagement and interaction that she wanted. She went to posting 7 or 8 times a day. And it's like 7, 8 a day? It's like, no way. Um, but while I haven't been able to do that consistently, I've certainly put a burr on my butt to be able to get more content out. And I'm trying to work and learn. And I'm learning from Ryder. So, I mean, we learn from each other. We learn from our coaches. Yeah, that's Ryder's giving me some good tips on how to mass produce content. I've taken a lot of background footage this trip. And the other night at the zoo lights, and well, I've got some content coming up that'll have that footage in it. So just little tricks of the trade that just help. Um,
for sure.
so
Yeah, go a long way.
they really do. Well, Joseph, I am so grateful that honored that you joined me and shared from the heart about what's really going on in the affiliate marketing world, at least from your perspective. We continue to wish you the best of success. Friends, if you are not following Online Income Joseph, please, please, please go follow him. When you watch his content, I am sure that if like Hardwired, like most of the rest of us, you're going to want to binge it. Please watch it all the way through, interact with it, and just if you have any questions about either one of the programs that we offer through Passive Income Blueprints, I want to encourage you to get Joseph to reach out to you or click his link or whatever he's got available there, um, and just lean into him. He will not steer you wrong. Yeah,
Thank you, Russell. I appreciate that, and I do want to say an extra thank you for having me. It's there's starting to become an accumulated credibility to be a part of Russell's interviews. So I'm glad I made the cut. So I'm glad you invited me, and I'm happy to have been here.
absolutely. And if y'all want to share this later, y'all can reach out to me. I will be posting this in my Facebook group and also on my YouTube channel. Joseph will also have a copy of it, so y'all can reach out to him. Give me about 72 hours in this case. I can usually do it in 24, but since I'm on vacation, I'm going to wait until after vacation
As
to get it done. But it will be out there. Um, Joseph, I look forward to seeing y'all. I won't see you on the mastermind tonight, but I look forward to seeing you either later this week or early part of next week. Be sure and have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you before then.
absolutely,
And
same.
friends, y'all have a Merry Christmas as well, and we will see y'all soon.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Bye. See you, Russell. Enjoy the
Bye.
vacation.
Thank you, sir.